Hello, my name is Molly Nichols. I'm a rising junior at the University of New Hampshire studying analytical economics and sustainability. And this summer, I had the opportunity to work with Mark Foods to support the pursuit of B Corporation certification. The main objective of my project was to perform a gap analysis, research B Lab's updated standards, and translate them into practical policies, procedures, and resources. And I can't lie, I'm really excited for this opportunity to geek out about all of that with you guys. But before I get into how I did this work, I wanted to share why I chose this particular fellowship. I've found that when I tell people that I study both economics and sustainability, it tends to raise a few eyebrows. Someone actually told me once that I'd become way less cool after they found out that I was a business student because to them, that meant that I didn't care about people. While that reaction may have been a little extreme, the assumption behind it is one that I hear all the time, which is that businesses have to choose between doing well and doing good. And while I can understand where that perception comes from, the more I study both fields, the more I've come to see them not just as connected, but mutually reinforcing. The economist in me values these business terms that I have here: optimization, profitability, and efficiency. And the sustainability student in me understands the value of environmental and social responsibility, represented by B Lab's 7 impact topics. To me, B Corp certification is the perfect combination of these two disciplines, a framework for companies to be sustainable in every sense of the word, financially resilient, and socially and environmentally responsible. And that's why I chose this project. Okay, off my soapbox and into how I actually approached this work. The summer started with understanding B Lab's new standards. Unlike their old point-based system, companies now have to meet requirements across all 7 impact topics. And the more I learned about that structure, the more I came to actually really appreciate it because it taught me a lesson that guided the rest of my summer. Sustainability work, and any project really, can't be done in silos. Environmental, social, and governance issues have to be addressed, and they have to be addressed together. From there, I worked closely with my mentor to understand Mark Foods itself, their operations, partnerships, and existing certifications, which gave me the context to identify where the gaps were and where existing practices needed to be strengthened or documented. Then came the research: webinars, academic articles, global guidance, resources from B Lab, all helped me better understand specifically the human rights, fair work, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and purpose and stakeholder governance topics. Not just what the standards required, but why they exist. And I'm actually really glad that these were the topics I worked on because they challenged my own understanding of what sustainability means. I feel like we tend to think of it in purely environmental terms, but this project taught me that sustainability is just as much about people as it is about the planet. With the research done, I moved into translating what I learned into practical resources. For example, a human rights impact collection, prioritization, and escalation procedure, an inclusive hiring and employment policy, and a public grievance form and procedure. It was actually really cool learning how to write a policy or procedure and taking broad, abstract research and turning it into something tailored and usable for a real company. As I built these resources, however, I was thinking about where they'd go after I handed them off. And one thing kept coming back to me, which is that sustainability initiatives cannot be done in isolation or by just one person. They need to be understood and supported throughout an organization to actually be effective. And I found that while there's a strong ethical argument for these practices, there was a lack of clearly communicated business value. And given the time and resources implementation would require of the Mark Foods team, I worried that that would become a barrier to internal support. So at the launch event, I asked mentors for advice on building support for a sustainability initiative. And one suggestion really stuck with me, which was to make videos of the work and explain why it matters, not just to put a face to it, but to actually make the case for why it's worthwhile. I loved that, and so I went to work the next week super excited and ended up making one video for each of the 4 impact topics, walking through what the documents were, why B Lab requires them, and the business case for each. Another shout out to the launch event because an additional piece of advice I got that day was to interview people already in the B Corp space. So I asked Grace to connect me with some, and she did, and I ended up interviewing 4 B Corps and 2 consultants about the benefits, challenges, and realities of certification, and use those insights to build an executive summary for the Mark Foods team. Now, as the summer wraps up, Mark Foods is a few steps closer to certification. The process is still ongoing, but they now have 14 implementation-ready resources, along with a roadmap and materials to support their decision-making. So to reiterate, there are 3 final deliverables for this project. First is a file of every policy, procedure, statement, guide, and form created to meet B-Lab's criteria with notes on each, which is represented by the Excel sheet that I used to keep track of my work throughout the summer. These materials will go to Mark Foods' executive team for approval, implementation, and submission. Second is the executive summary built for my B Corp and consultant interviews. And third are the 4 business case videos regarding human rights, fair work, JEDI, and PSG, detailing each of the documents and the business benefit to Mark Foods. As I reflect on these past 12 weeks, I am just so grateful for this opportunity and for this fellowship. I feel like I learned a lot, both personally and professionally, how to navigate a professional setting, how to turn abstract ideas into concrete material, how to explain my work rather than just doing it, which was a big one for me. And more than anything, this project broadened my sense of all the ways that sustainability can benefit both the environment and society. I know that I'm totally preaching to the choir right now, but if I can leave you guys with one message, it's this. Sustainability and business are not mutually exclusive. Business can be cool, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And each of us has the power to make it that way. I want to close by thanking Alexis Dwyer, Zach Angelini, Grace Gabriel, Mikey Pisciuto, Tom Safford, and Peter Handy, along with my fellow fellows and all the mentors for your guidance, support, feedback, and willingness to share your knowledge. You've each enriched both my work and my personal experience this summer, and for that, I am so grateful. Thank you.